forward very quickly to support the people and to see that the effects of these floods are mitigated in the sense that the dams or the ponds that are destroyed or rebuilt. So the government and the people's representatives are very active in this matter. So I think the government and the parliament is very active in regard to the climate change consequences.
It summarizes it all. One voice. Move with one voice. One voice as a country, as a region, as the world. We should all move with one voice to say enough is enough and that we must save humanity from the effects of climate change. Little did I know that maybe, I thought at first I thought it was the African countries, the least developed countries in Africa which were heavily affected. But now when I came here, I realized that actually effects of climate change are most prominent here in Asia, mostly in this very beautiful country, Bangladesh.
It's been inspiring to hear the work that's being done by parliamentarians around the world and the legislation that's being brought in regarding climate change, the motions they're doing, the all-party caucuses that are forming. And I think what's exciting is that this is a first step, that we will build on this conference going forward. And there's talk of a network, which I think would be really exciting.
First and foremost, I would like to congratulate the parliamentarians for taking this step and Bangladesh Parliament. And they have now formed a platform called the Parliamentarians for Climate Justice. This is so needed. Of course, the effectiveness of this platform will depend on how our parliamentarians can come together, how they can recruit more parliamentarians from both the North and the South, the affected vulnerable countries and the developed countries, and take up policies. They need to do the lobbying at the international level. They have to be the pressure group at the international level so that the states and governments in developed countries, in developing countries engage in this process and they make the adequate, appropriate contributions. Because without the adequate contributions, we will not be able to address this.
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank the Bangladeshi Parliament and the Speaker for having organized this kind of meeting or seminar. I guess it's the first time where parliamentarians have come together to talk about issues of climate change. But it's the first time where we have people from the North and other vulnerable countries coming together and discussing issues of climate change. We've come up with a declaration which we have just passed as participants. In essence, it brings about roles of members of parliament in terms of issues dealing with climate change. We've come up with a network for issues with climate. Technically, it's called Network of Climate Justice. And in essence, what we're trying to do is, one, capacity build members of parliament. Two is also to, in terms of our roles of representative oversight and legislation, to see how we can urge our executives to come up with policies that are pro climate change in terms of how we can adapt and mitigate the issues of climate change, to build capacity for members of parliament, to build capacity for other stakeholders, not only members of parliament, because the other vulnerable groups in terms of gender, children, disability, people with disabilities, the youth, and to see how best we can mitigate those issues. It also, in terms of coming up with a network, it brings together like-minded people and bring back like-minded people so that whenever we have issues of climate change, there's the real plausibility which is coming up. So we can go as a group to to push the agenda of people from most vulnerable countries.
I'm very happy that the parliamentarians are engaging in, first of all, oversight of the executive, in making sure that the budget allocations are there for climate change in general. As to Indigenous peoples, again, we hope to see the rights of the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples be asserted. And one of our key issues is the process of REDD. indigenous peoples have time and time opposed those processes because that introduces a market-based mechanism by which multinational corporations really privatize the air and compensate or claim to compensate for the greenhouse gas emissions. But in fact, this allows them to continue emitting and even emit more while they are claiming to protect a forest. The protectors of the forest should not be multinational corporations.
The basic premise of individual level economies under the global capitalism and imperialism, it is guided by very basic philosophy of free market economy, which is not just profit, maximizing profit. So when you try to maximize profit, you minimize many things, and I think the things you minimize, if you prepare a list of those things, sum total of some of those will be destruction of environment and climate change.
So money is scarce, so we still need to make sure that we focus on climate change adaptation for our country, but also mitigation. And our biggest contribution, I think, is to show that there are economically successful ways to deliver a low carbon economy.
It's
and
a win-win
that would
situation.
be that win-win-win. Low carbon, create jobs, and tackle poverty. If we can do all three of those things, that would be for me a contribution that Scotland could make to tackling climate change across the world.
Well, as you noted, UNDP of course works with all stakeholders, with government, with civil society. But of course the parliamentarians are the ones who represent the people. They are the constituent representatives. So they have a direct connection with their communities, with their people. In this way they can both assist their people to find the right solutions, to develop their own solutions, to adapt to climate change. But they can also help to adjust the behaviors and so on to be more climate sensitive in and of itself. I think it's been a great success, not only because it represents the first time when such parliament members have come together from so many countries, but also because the members of the delegations that came to Dhaka are from all countries, north and south, developed, developing, the least developed countries, big and small, the most affected and the lesser affected. So this, in a sense, really shows the commitment of all countries to do something about
ও আমার দেশের মাটি তোমার পরে ঠেকাই মাথা তোমাতে বিশ্বময়ীর তোমাতে বিশ্বমায়ের আঁচল পাতা ও আমার দেশের মাটি তোমার পরে